Alright, so welcome back guys to Mr. D's Math Reviews. We will be going over factoring out exponents. So here we go. Now sometimes you won't have it explicitly told to you that you're factoring out an exponent. Like what we see here, it's just asking us to rewrite it in that notation with a parentheses and an exponent, but that's what we're doing. We're factoring out an exponent. Now when you're doing that, essentially what you're going to be doing is rooting by the exponent that you're factoring out. And that brings us to our first question. What exponent are we factoring out? In our example 4x squared, they're asking us to factor out a 2. So we will root by 2. Now rooting by 2 is more commonly called square rooting. So if you look at our example, 4x squared is being square rooted. Now when rooting a composite term with coefficients and variables like what we have here, it helps to separate it into its elements or factors. Here we separate 4x squared into 4 and x squared and then square root each separately. We see that the square root of 4 is 2 and that the square root of x squared is x. And that's basically it. Here we have the separated answer to our problem, 2 and x. All we need to do is write it together and we're basically done. So what does 4x squared look like when we factor out an exponent of 2? It's the quantity 2x raised to the second power. Now you try factoring out some exponents on your own. What will 8x to the ninth look like if we factor out a 3? Now since we're factoring out an exponent of 3, what we're doing is actually cube rooting, or rooting by the third power. Now the cube root of 8 is 2, and the cube root of x to the ninth is x to the third. Now here's a tip that may help. When rooting variables with exponents, what you could do is divide the exponent by the exponent that you're rooting by. In this example, x9 is being rooted by the third power. We can divide 9 by 3, and that's how we get x to the third. And there's our answer, 2x cubed raised to the third power. Now try this one on for size. I know it looks complicated, but I'm sure you can do it. 256 x to the 8th, y to the 4th, if we factor out an exponent of 4. Alright, so we're factoring out an exponent of 4, which means that we are rooting by the fourth power. Now, the fourth root of 256 is 4, and the fourth root of x to the 8th is x squared, and the fourth root of y to the 4th is y. Now let's see if that tip from before can help us out in this one. X to the 8th is being rooted by 4, which means we can divide 8 by 4 and get 2. That's how we get x squared. Now we have y to the 4th being rooted by 4 also, and that's 4 divided by 4, which gives us 1, which is where we get y with an exponent of 1. And like usual, with an exponent of 1, we can leave it out. And that's it for factoring out exponents. I hope it helped.